The Minpins by Roald Dahl. Little Billy's mother was always telling him exactly what he was allowed to do and what he was not allowed to do. All the things he was allowed to do were boring. All the things he was not allowed to do were exciting. One of the things he was never allowed to do, the most exciting thing of them all, was to go through the garden gate all by himself and explore the world beyond. On this sunny summer afternoon, little Billy was kneeling on a chair in the living room, gazing out through the window at the wonderful world beyond. His mother was in the kitchen, and although the door was open, she couldn't see him. Every now and then, his mother would call out to him, saying,
"Little Billy, what are you up to in there?"
And little Billy would always call back,
"I'm being good, Mummy."
But little Billy was awfully tired of being good. Through the window, not so very far away, he could see the big black secret wood that was called the Forest of Sin. It was something that he had always longed to explore. His mother had told him that even grown-ups were frightened of going into the Forest of Sin. She recited a poem to him that was well known in the district.
"Beware, beware the forest of sin. None come out, but many go in."
But, Mummy, why don't they come out? What happens to them in the wood?
That wood is full of the most bloodthirsty wild beasts in the world.
You mean lions and tigers?
Much worse than that, Billy.
What's worse than tigers and lions?
Wangdoodles are worse, and hornswogglers and snozwanglers and vermicious canids. And worst of all is the terrible, blood-suckling, tooth-pluckling, stone-chuckling Spittler. There's one of them in there, too.
A Spittler, Mummy?
Of course. And when a Spittler chases after you, he blows clouds of hot smoke out of his nose.
Would he eat me up?
In one gulp.
Little Billy didn't believe a word of this. He guessed his mother was making it all up just to frighten him and to stop him ever going out of the house alone. And now little Billy was kneeling on a chair, gazing with longing through the window at the famous Forest of Sin. Just then, a funny thing happened. Little Billy began to hear somebody whispering in his ear. He knew exactly who it was. It was the devil. The devil always started whispering to him when he was especially bored. "It would be easy to climb out through that window, you know. No one would see you. And in a jiffy, you would be in the garden. And in another jiffy, you would be through the front gate. And in yet another jiffy, you would be exploring the marvelous Forest of Sin all by yourself. How about that? It's a super place. And don't believe a word of what your mother says about wangdoodles and hornswogglers and snozwanglers and vermicious canids. Or the terrible, blood-suckling, tooth-pluckling, stone-chuckling Spittler. No, there are no such things. Of course there aren't. How would she know anyway? She's never been there, has she?
What is in there, then?
Wild strawberries.
Really?
That's right. The whole floor is carpeted with wild strawberries, every one of them luscious and red and juicy ripe. Go and see for yourself. They're delicious. These were the words the devil whispered softly into little Billy's ear on that sunny summer afternoon. The next moment, Little Billy had opened the window and was climbing out. In a jiffy, he had dropped silently onto the flower bed below. In another jiffy, he was out of the garden gate. And in yet another jiffy, he was standing on the very edge of the great big dark forest of sin. He had made it. He had got there. And now the forest was all his to explore. Was he nervous? What? Who said anything about being nervous? Hornswogglers, vermicious cnids? What sort of rubbish was that? Little Billy hesitated.
I'm not nervous. I'm not in the least bit nervous. Not me.
Very, very slowly, he walked forward into the great forest. Giant trees were soon surrounding him on all sides, and their branches made an almost solid roof high above his head, blotting out the sky. Here and there, little shafts of sunlight shone through gaps in the roof. There was not a sound anywhere. It was like being among the dead men in an enormous, empty, green cathedral. When he had ventured some distance into the forest, Little Billy stopped and stood quite still, listening. He could hear nothing, nothing at all. There was absolute silence. Or was there? Hold on just 1 second. What was that? Little Billy flicked his head round and stared into the everlasting gloom and doom of the forest. There it was again. There was no mistaking it this time. From far away, there came a very faint whoozing, whiffling noise, like a small gusty wind blowing through the trees. Then it grew louder. Every second it was growing louder. And suddenly, it was no longer a small wind. It was a fearsome swooshing, whooshing, whiffling, snorting noise that sounded as though some gigantic creature was breathing heavily through its nose as it galloped towards him. Little Billy turned and ran. Little Billy ran faster than he had ever run in his life before, but the swooshing, whooshing, whiffling, snorting noise was coming after him. Worse still, it was getting louder. This meant that the thing, the maker of the noise, the galloping creature, was getting closer. It was catching him up. Run, Little Billy! Run, run, run! He dodged around massive trees. He skipped over roots and brambles. He bent low to flash under boughs and bushes. He had wings on his feet, he ran so fast. But still, the fearsome swooshing, whooshing, whiffling, snorting noise grew louder and louder as it came closer and closer. Little Billy glanced quickly over his shoulder, and now, in the distance, he saw a sight that froze his blood and made icicles in his veins. What he saw were two mighty puffs of orange-red smoke billowing and rolling through the trees in his direction. These were followed by two more, whoosh, whoosh, and then two more, whoosh, whoosh. And they must surely be coming, Little Billy told himself, from the two nose holes of some galloping, panting beast that had smelled him out and was coming after him. His mother's words began thrumming once again in his head.
Beware, beware the forest of sin. None come out, but many go in.
Oh no, it's a spittler for sure. Mummy said the spittler blows smoke when it chases you, and this one's blowing smoke. It's the terrible, blood-sucking, tooth-plucking, stone-chuckling spittler. and soon it will catch me up, and I'll be blood-suckled and tooth-pluckled and stone-chuckled and chewed up into tiny little pieces. And then the spittle will spit me out in a cloud of smoke, and that'll be the end of me.
Little Billy was running with the speed of an arrow, but each time he glanced back over his shoulder, the puffs of orange-red smoky breath had gotten closer. They were so close now, he could feel the wind of them on the back of his neck. And the noise! It was deafening in his ears, this fearsome swooshing, whooshing, whiffling, panting noise. It was like the noise made by a steam locomotive pulling out from a station. He glanced around again, but the thing, the beast, the monster, or whatever it was hidden from his sight by the smoke it shot out as it galloped forward. The smoke breath was billowing all around him now. He could feel its hotness. Worse still, he could smell its smell. The smell was disgusting. It was the stench that comes from deep inside the tummy of a meat-eating animal.
Help! Mummy, Mummy, save me! Help! Help!
Suddenly, directly in front of him, little Billy saw the trunk of an enormous tree. This tree was different from the others because it had branches hanging down very low. He made a frantic jump for its lowest branch. He caught it and pulled himself up. Then he grabbed the next branch above his head and pulled himself up again. Then again and again, climbing higher and higher to get away from the terrible, snorting, smoke-blowing, smelly-breathed beast down below. He stopped climbing only when he was too exhausted to climb any higher.
I can't go any further. How much taller is this tree anyway? I can't see the top of it. It seems to go on forever.
He couldn't see the ground either. He was in a world of green leaves and thick, smooth branches with no earth or sky in sight.
I must have climbed an awfully long way. But at least that snorting, smelly, smoke-blowing beast must be miles below me now. I can't even hear it anymore.
Little Billy found a comfortable place where two branches came together and sat down to rest. For the moment, at any rate, he was safe. Then, something very peculiar happened. There was a huge, smooth branch very close to where little Billy was sitting, and he suddenly noticed that a small square patch of bark on this branch was beginning to move.
Oh no, what's happening now? That tiny bit of bark is starting to split down the middle. It's opening out like a door. No, more like a pair of shutters on some tiny window. Why, the whole window's no bigger than a postage stamp.
Little Billy sat staring at this extraordinary thing. And all at once, a strange, uncomfortable feeling came over him. It felt as though the tree he was sitting in and the green leaves all around him belonged to another world altogether, and that he was a trespasser who had no right to be where he was. He watched intently as the tiny shutters of tree bark opened wider and wider, and when they were fully open, they revealed a small squarish window set neatly in the curve of the big branch.
Funny? There seems to be some sort of a yellowish glow coming from deep inside. Oh, what's that? It's a face! A tiny, tiny face. But where did it come from? It looks like an old man with white hair. His whole head is no larger than a pea.
This ancient miniature face was staring straight at little Billy with the most severe expression on it. The skin on the face was deeply wrinkled all over, but the eyes were as bright as two stars. Now something even more peculiar began to happen. All around him, not only on the main trunk of the tree, but also on all the big branches that grew out of it, other tiny windows were opening and tiny faces peering out.
There's more. They're everywhere. Who are they? These here are like tiny men, but those are definitely women. And that face up there's a little girl's. And that one's a little boy. But their heads are no larger than heads of matchsticks.
In the end, there must have been more than 20 small windows all around where little Billy was sitting, and from each window these amazing little faces were peering out. No sound came from any of the watchers. The faces were silent, unmoving, almost ghost-like. Now the tiny old man in the window nearest to Billy seemed to be saying something, but his voice was so soft and whispery, little Billy had to lean right up close to catch the words.
You're in a bit of a twizzler, aren't you? You can't go down again, because if you do, you'll be guzzled up at once. But you can't possibly sit here forever either.
I know.
Don't shout. There's no need to shout.
I'm not shouting.
Talk softer, then. If you talk too loud, your voice will blow me away.
But who are you?
We are the Minpins, and we own this wood. Wait a second. I shall come closer, and then you will be able to hear me better. I'll just climb out and come over to you. Oops, here.
The old Minpin climbed out of his window and walked straight down the big steeply sloping branch, then up another branch, until he found a place only a few inches from little Billy's face. It was amazing to see him walking up and down these almost vertical branches without the slightest trouble. It was like seeing someone walking up and down a wall.
How on earth do you do that?
Suction boots. We all wear them, see?
They're like tiny green wellies.
You can't live in trees without suction boots.
Suddenly, all the other Minpins, men, women and children, were climbing out of their windows and making their way towards little Billy. Their suction boots seemed to allow them to walk up and down the steepest branches with the greatest ease, and some were even walking upside down underneath the branches. All of them were wearing curiously old-fashioned clothes, mostly brown and black, the sort of thing people wore 200 or 300 years ago, and several had on very peculiar hats and bonnets. They stood or sat in groups on all the branches around little Billy, staring at him as though he was someone from outer space.
But do you all actually live inside this tree?
All the trees in this forest are hollow. Not just this one, but all of them. And inside them, thousands and thousands of Minpins are living. These great trees are filled with rooms and staircases, not just in the main trunk, but in most of the other branches as well. This is a Minpin forest, and it's not the only one in England either.
Could I peep inside?
Of course. You only have to ask, you know. Here, just put your eye close to that window. Here, that one. The one I just climbed out of.
It's so tiny, though. It's no bigger than a postage stamp.
Oh, go on, take a look.
Oh, but that's amazing. What beautiful little chairs and tables. And there's even a miniature four-poster bed. It's just like one of the rooms I saw once in the Queen's doll's house at Windsor Castle. It's simply beautiful. Are all the rooms as lovely as this one?
Most are smaller. This one is very grand because I am the ruler of this tree. My name is Don Minnie, by the way. What's yours?
Little Billy.
Well, greetings, little Billy. You're very welcome to look into some of the other rooms if you wish. We are very proud of them, you know.
Oh, yes. Do come and look at my room, little Billy.
No, come and see mine first. Please, come and see mine.
One at a time. One at a time. What's this one then? It's a bathroom. It's just like the one we have at home, but about 1,000 times smaller. Oh dear, there's someone in there. What's in here then?
Come on, children, pay attention. What are you all staring at? Oh, good heavens! It's a giant eyeball!
And you even have your own school.
As little Billy went from window to window, the Minpins followed him, clustering around and smiling at his exclamations of wonder.
They're all absolutely marvellous. Much nicer than our rooms at home. And I've had a lovely time with you all. But how am I ever going to get home again? My mother will be going crazy.
You can never get down from this tree, I've told you that. If you're stupid enough to try, you'll be eaten up in 5 seconds.
Is it the Spittler? Is it the terrible, blood-suckling, tooth-pluckling, stone-chuckling Spittler?
I've never heard of any as Spittler. The one waiting for you down there's the fearsome Gruncher. The red-hot, smoke-belching Gruncher. He grunches up everything in the forest. That's why we have to live up here. He has grunched up hundreds of humans and literally millions of Minpins. What makes him so dangerous is his amazing and magical nose. His nose can smell out a human or a Minpin or any other animal from 10 miles away. Then he gallops towards it at a terrific speed. He can never see anything in front of him because of all the smoke he belches out from his nose and mouth. But that doesn't bother him. His nose tells him exactly where to go.
Why does he blow out all that smoke, though?
Because he's got red-hot fire in his belly. The Gruncher likes his meat roasted, you see, and the fire roasts it as it goes down.
Look, Gruncher or no Gruncher, I've simply got to get home somehow. I'll have to make a dash for it.
Oh, don't try it, I beg you. The Gruncher knows you're up here. He can smell you. And he's down there, waiting for you.
How do you know?
Climb down a bit lower if you don't believe me. Oh, come on, I'll show you.
Don Minnie walked easily, straight down the great tree trunk. Little Billy climbed carefully down after him, from one branch to the next. Soon, below them, they began to smell the revolting hot stench of the Gruncher's breath, and the orange-red smoke was now billowing up into the lower branches in thick clouds.
What does he look like exactly?
Nobody knows. He makes so much steam and smoke you can never see him properly. If you're right behind him, you can sometimes catch a glimpse of little bits of him because all the smoke is being blown out in the front. Some Minpins say they have seen his back legs, huge and black and very hairy, shaped like lion's legs, but 10 times as big. And it's rumoured that his head is like an enormous crocodile's head, with rows and rows of sharp, pointed teeth. But nobody really knows. Mind you, he must have gigantic nose holes to be able to blow out all that smoke.
I can hear him now. Listen.
That's him. He's pawing the ground at the base of the tree with his giant hooves. Oh, he smells you. Just listen to him snorting with greed. He knows you aren't far away. He'll wait forever to get you now. He adores humans, and he doesn't catch them very often. Humans are like strawberries and cream to him. You see, for months he's been living on a diet of Minpins, and 1,000 Minpins is not even a snack for him. The brute is ravenous, totally ravenous.
Little Billy and Don Minnie climbed back up the tree to where all the other Minpins were gathered. They seemed glad to see little Billy come safely back.
Why don't you stay up here with us?
Yes, we'll look after you.
Just then, a lovely blue swallow alighted on a branch not far away, and little Billy saw a mother Minpin and her 2 children climb quite casually onto the swallow's back. Then the swallow took off, and flew away with its passengers seated comfortably between its wings.
That's incredible, Don Minnie. Is that a special tame bird?
Not at all. We know all the birds in the forest. The birds are our friends. We use them all the time for going places. That lady is taking her children to see their grandmother, who lives in another forest about 50 miles away. They'll be there in less than an hour.
Can you talk to them? To the birds, I mean. Really talk to them.
Of course we can talk to them. We can summon them any time we want if we have to go somewhere. How else would we get our supplies of food up here? The red-hot gruncher makes it completely impossible for us to walk anywhere in the forest.
But do the birds like doing this for you?
Oh, yes. They'll do anything for us. They love us and we love them. We store food for them inside the trees so that they don't starve when the icy cold winter comes along.
Now all sorts of birds were alighting on the branches of the tree around where little Billy was sitting. And the Minpins were climbing on their backs in droves. Most of the Minpins had small sacks slung over their shoulders.
Where are they all going?
At this time of the day, they go off to collect food. All the grown-ups have to help in getting food for the community. The population of each tree has to look after itself, you see. Our large trees are like your cities and towns, and the small trees are like your villages.
It was an astonishing sight. There were blackbirds and thrushes and skylarks and ravens and starlings and jays and magpies and many kinds of small finches. Every kind of wonderful bird was flying in and perching on the branches of the great tree. And as soon as one landed, a Minpin would climb on its back, and off they would go. It was all very fast and well organized. Each bird seemed to know exactly which Minpin it was collecting, and each Minpin knew exactly which bird he or she had ordered for the morning.
The birds are our cars, but they're much nicer and they never crash.
There's hardly anyone left now. Only those tiny children over there. That's all. They're climbing on those robins that have just flown in. Where are they flying to, Don Minnie?
They're learning to fly. The children all practice on robins. Robins are sensible and careful birds, and they love the little ones.
It's such a shame that the reason they have to learn to fly is because of that disgusting red-hot smoke-belching gruncher down below. Is there no way in the world to get rid of it?
The only time a gruncher dies is if he falls into deep water. The water puts out the fire inside him, and then he's dead. The fire to a gruncher is like your heart is to you. Stop your heart, and you die at once. It's the same thing with a gruncher. Put out the fire, and it dies in 5 seconds. That's the only way to kill a gruncher.
Hang on a minute. Don Minnie, is there by any chance a pond or something around here?
Well, there's a big lake on the far side of the forest. Oh, but if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, forget it. Who's going to entice the gruncher into that, huh? Not us, and certainly not you. He'd be on you before you got within 10 yards of him.
But you did say the gruncher can't see in front of him because of all the clouds of smoke he blows.
Quite true. But how is that going to help us? I don't think the gruncher is ever going to fall into a lake. He never goes out of the forest.
I think I know how to make him fall in.
You do?
What I want is a bird big enough to carry me.
You? Well, I suppose Well, you are a very small boy. So, now you come to mention it, I think a swan could actually carry you quite easily.
Call up a swan, then.
Oh, but I hope you're not going to do anything dangerous, little Billy. We wouldn't like anything to happen to you.
Just listen carefully. You must tell the swan exactly what he has to do. With me on his back, he must fly down to the gruncher.
Fly down to the gruncher?
Yes, because then the Gruncher will smell me and know that I am very close, but he won't be able to see me for all the steam and smoke. He'll go mad trying to get at me. The Swan will tantalise him by flying back and forth right in front of him. Is that possible?
Oh, quite possible, except you might easily fall off. All too easily, in fact. After all, you've had no flying practice at all.
I'll hang on somehow. Don't worry, Don Minnie. Then the Swan, keeping very low, will fly off through the forest with the ravenous Gruncher hot foot in pursuit. The Swan will keep just ahead of the Gruncher all the time, driving him crazy with my smell.
Yes?
And in the end, the Swan will fly straight over the big deep lake, and the Gruncher, who by now will be travelling at terrific speed, will follow right behind. Presto! He's in the lake.
My boy, you are a genius, a veritable genius. Oh, will you do it? Will you really?
Call up the Swan.
Don Minnie turned to one of the robins which had just come back from a practice flight with a child Minpin on its back. Little Billy heard him talking to the robin in a kind of a curious twitter. He couldn't understand a word of it. The robin nodded its head and flew off. 2 minutes later, a truly magnificent swan, as white as snow, came swooping in and landed on a branch nearby. Don Minnie walked over to it, and once again a curious twittery conversation took place, a much longer one this time, with Don Minnie doing nearly all the twittering, and the swan nodding and nodding.
Well?
Oh, Swan thinks it's a great idea, little Billy. He says he can do it, but he's just a bit anxious because you've never flown before. He says you must hang on very tight to his feathers.
Tell him not to worry about that. I'll hang on somehow. I don't want to be roasted alive and eaten by the Gruncher, do I?
No, I don't suppose you do.
No fear.
Little Billy climbed onto Swan's back. Many of the Minpins who had flown away a short while before were now returning on their birds. Their tiny sacks were bulging. They stood around on the branches, staring in wonder at the sight of this small human preparing to take off on Swan. And with that, the great swan spread its wings and glided gently downward through the many branches of the big tree. Little Billy hung on tight. Oh, it was thrilling to be flying on the back of this great swan. It was wonderful to be up in the air and to feel the air swishing past his face. He hung on very tightly to Swan's feathers. And suddenly, there it was, just below them. The huge billow of orange-red smoke and steam coming from the nostrils of the awesome Gruncher.
Oh, this is horrible! I can hardly breathe!
The smoke enveloped the beast completely, and yet through the smoke, as they got very close, little Billy could just make out the enormous black shadow of some hairy monster. The snorting grew louder, and as the brute got more and more excited by the nearness of the delicious little Billy smell, the smoke began coming out faster and faster.
It's getting closer, Swan! Take care!
Swan was flying back and forth right in front of the snorting cloud of smoke, tempting and tantalizing the beast and driving him mad with greed. The beast, or rather the cloud of smoke, kept lunging at little Billy, but Swan was too quick for him and jinked away every time. The snorting grew louder and more ferocious every second, and the thick hot steam came pouring out, thicker than ever. Once, Swan looked round to see if little Billy was all right. Little Billy nodded and smiled.
Don't worry about me, Swan. I'm all right. How about you?
and he could swear Swan nodded and smiled back at him. At last, Swan must have decided they had done enough teasing. The thick orange-red cloud was leaping up and down in a frenzy of hunger and desire, and the whole forest was echoing with the snorts and growls of the awesome creature.
Over there, Swan! Over there!
Swan glided round and headed in a straight line towards the edge of the forest. And of course, the vast cloud of smoke came hurtling after it.
Be careful to fly low, Swan! Keep ducking in front of the cruncher! That's it! Lead him on through the trees!
The scent of human food was very strong in the Gruncher's nostrils, and he must have been thinking that so long as he kept going flat out, he would catch his meal in the end. Suddenly, right in front of them, on the edge of the forest, was the lake. The Gruncher, hurtling along right behind them, was interested only in the glorious human scent he was following.
Not much further now, Swan! Here we go!
Swan flew straight towards the lake. It skimmed low over the water. The Gruncher kept going. Little Billy, looking back, saw the Gruncher plunging into the lake.
Hooray! We got him! Swan! We did it!
And then the whole lake seemed to erupt in a mass of boiling, steaming, frothing, bubbling water. For a brief moment, the terrible red-hot, smoke-belching Gruncher made the lake boil and smoke like a volcano. Then the fire went out, and the awesome beast disappeared under the waves. When it was all over, Swan and Little Billy flew higher and circled the lake for a last look. And suddenly the whole sky around them was filled with birds, and every bird had one or more Minpins on its back. Little Billy recognized Don Minnie riding on a fine jay, and he was waving and cheering as he flew alongside them. It seemed that all the other Minpins from the big tree had turned up as well to witness the great victory over the dreaded Gruncher. Every kind of bird was circling around Little Billy and Swan, and the Minpins on their backs were waving and clapping and shouting for joy.
Hello! Hello, everyone!
Little Billy waved back and laughed and thought how wonderful it all was.
Hello, everyone! Oh, this is great!
Then, led by Swan, all the birds and the Minpins returned to the home tree. Back in the tree, there was a tremendous celebration for Little Billy's victory over the dreaded Gruncher. Minpins from all over the forest had flown in on their birds to cheer the young hero, and all the branches and twigs of the great tree were crowded with tiny people. When the cheers and the clapping had died down at last, Don Minnie stood up to make a speech.
Minpins of the forest. The murderous Gruncher who has gobbled up so many thousands of us Minpins, is no more. It has gone forever. The forest floor is at long last safe for us to walk on. So now we can all go down and pick blackberries and winkleberries and puckleberries and muckleberries and twinkleberries and snozberries to our heart's content. and our children can play among the wild flowers and the roots all day long. But ladies and gentlemen, who is it we have to thank for this great blessing that has come upon us? Who is the saviour of the Minpins? Our saviour, our hero, our wonder boy is, as you already know, our human visitor, Little Billy.
Hooray for Little Billy! Well done! Yes, bless you, Little Billy. 3 cheers for Little Billy. Yes, 3 cheers! Hooray! Shh! Everybody, quiet! Don Minnie's trying to speak.
Thank you. Little Billy, you, my boy, have done a wonderful thing for us. And in return, we wish to do something for you. I've had a word with Swan, and he has agreed to become your personal private aeroplane for just as long as you remain small enough to fly on his back.
Good old Swan.
What a great idea! Isn't that good?
It really does.
However, you must appreciate that you cannot go flying around all over the place on Swan's back in full daylight. Some human would be bound to see you. And then the secret would be out, and you would be forced to tell your people all about us. That must never happen. If it did, crowds of enormous humans would come clumping all over our beloved forest to look for Minpins, and our quiet homeland would be ruined.
I'll never tell a soul.
Even so, we cannot risk you making daylight flights. But every night after the light in your bedroom has been switched off, Swan will come to your window to see if you'd like a ride. Sometimes he'll bring you back here to see us. Other times he will take you to visit places more wonderful than you could ever dream of. Would you like Swan to take you home now? I think we can risk just one more daylight flight.
Of course we can. Let him have a ride home.
Yes, let him.
Oh, gosh. I'd clean forgotten about home. Mummy'll be in a panic. I must fly.
Don Minnie gave a signal, and in 5 seconds Swan swooped down and landed on a tree. Little Billy climbed onto his back, and as the great swan spread his wings and flew away, the whole forest, not just the tree they were in, but the whole forest from end to end, came alive with the cheering of 1,000,000 Minpins. Swan landed on the lawn of Little Billy's house, and Little Billy jumped off his back and ran to the living room window. Very quietly, he climbed in. The room was empty.
Little Billy? Are you still in the living room? Little Billy, what are you doing in there? You've been very quiet for a long time.
I'm being good, Mummy. That's all. I'm being very, very good.
You have been quiet. Oh, goodness gracious, what have you been doing? Look at you. Your clothes are absolutely filthy.
I've been climbing trees.
I can't let you out of my sight for 10 minutes. Which tree was it?
Just one of those old trees outside.
Well, if you're not careful, you'll fall down and break your arm, or something worse. Mark my words. Don't do it again.
I won't, Mummy. I'll just fly up into the branches on silver wings.
What rubbish you talk sometimes, Little Billy. I don't know where you get it from. I really don't.
From then on, Swan came every night to little Billy's bedroom window. He came after Billy's mother and father had gone to sleep, and the whole house was quiet. But little Billy was never asleep. He was always wide awake and eagerly waiting. And every night before Swan arrived, he saw to it that the curtains were drawn back and the window was open wide, so that the great white bird could come gliding right into the room and land on the floor beside his bed.
Hello, Swan.
Then little Billy would slip into his dressing gown and climb onto Swan's back, and off they would go. Oh, it was a wondrous secret life that little Billy lived up there in the sky at night on Swan's back. They flew in a magical world of silence, swooping and gliding over the dark world below, where all the earthly people were fast asleep in their beds. Once, Swan flew higher than ever before, and they came to an enormous billowing cloud that was shining in a pale golden light. And in the fold of this cloud, little Billy could make out creatures of some sort moving around.
Oh, who are they? I wonder who they are.
He wanted so badly to ask Swan this question, but he couldn't speak a word of bird language. Swan seemed unwilling to fly very close to these creatures from another world, and this made it impossible for little Billy to see them clearly. Another time, Swan flew through the night for what seemed hours and hours, until they came at last to a gigantic opening in the earth's surface, a sort of huge gaping hole in the ground. And Swan glided slowly round and round this massive crater, and then right down into it. Deeper and deeper they went into the dark hole. Suddenly, there was a brightness like sunlight below them, and little Billy could see a vast lake of water, gloriously blue, and on the surface of the lake thousands of swans were swimming slowly about. The pure white of the swans against the blue of the water was very beautiful.
It's amazing. I've never seen so many swans.
Little Billy wondered whether this was a secret meeting place of all the swans in the world, and he wished he had been able to ask Swan this question as well. But sometimes mysteries are more intriguing than explanations, and the swans on the blue lake, like the creatures on the golden cloud, would remain a mystery forever in little Billy's memory. About once a week, Swan would fly little Billy back to the old tree in the forest to visit the Minpins. On one of these visits, Don Minnie spoke to him.
You know, you're growing up fast, little Billy. I'm afraid that very soon you'll be too heavy for Swan.
I know. I've thought about it a lot, but I can't help it, Don Minnie. I can't stop growing. It's only human.
We realize that, little Billy. The trouble is we don't have any bigger birds than Swan. But when he can't carry you any longer, I do hope you will still come up here to visit us. We would like that so much.
Oh, I will. I will always keep coming to see you. I'll never forget you.
And listen, perhaps some of us might come down in great secrecy to visit you sometimes.
Could you really do that?
I think we might. We could trickle silently down to your house in the dark and creep into your bedroom for a midnight feast.
Count me in, and me.
Oh, that would be marvellous. I'd love to see you all. But how would you get all the way up to my bedroom window? It's a very long way up.
Have you forgotten our suction boots? We'd simply walk straight up the wall of your house.
Oh, yes! How lovely! Then we can take it in turns visiting each other.
Of course we can.
And that is exactly what happened. No child has ever had such an exciting life as little Billy, and no child has ever kept such a huge secret so faithfully. He'd never told a soul about the Minpins. I myself have been very careful not to tell you where they live, and I'm not about to tell you now. But if by some extraordinary chance you should one day wander into a forest and catch a glimpse of a Minpin, then hold your breath and thank your lucky stars, because up to now, so far as I know, no one excepting little Billy has ever seen one. Watch the birds as they fly above your heads, and who knows, you might well spy a tiny creature riding high on the back of a swallow or a raven. Watch the robin especially, because it always flies low, and you might see a nervous young Minpin perched on the feathers, having its first flying lesson. And above all, watch with glittering eyes the whole world around you, because the greatest secrets are always hidden in the most unlikely places. Those who don't believe in magic will never find it.